Caleb Wilson plays a basketball game. Caleb Wilson gets a 20 and 10 double-double. It's just science at this point.
This is Tyler Hansbrough, and you're listening to Locked On Tar Heels.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? It's Tuesday, December 30th, 2025. Hard to believe that it's almost New Year's Eve. Welcome into this live postcast edition of the Locked On Tar Heels podcast, the only daily North Carolina show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Shade, and you're joining me at the place to get your Tar Heels content every single day, all part of the Locked On Network, the #1 sports podcast network. Special shout out to all you everydayers, all the members of the Locked On Tar Heels Discord, and of course our insiders as well. This episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. You guys, I have had a long day. I woke up at 5:30 a.m. Eastern time this morning, drove home 12 hours to Joplin, Missouri, and watched this game, and now we're here and we're doing it. And baby, it's great to get ACC play going. Carolina beats FSU 79-66. They moved their record to 13-1 on the season. 1-0 in ACC play. They're 22nd at KenPom, 42nd in offensive efficiency. Not as great, but 17th in defensive efficiency. That means with Carolina's win, this is not a therapy session. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a party. We'll get to the decisive 18-3 run here in a second. We'll talk big picture. We'll talk minute stats. We'll get to your comments and questions and figure out if Seth Trimble is ever going to stay on his feet for the rest of the season. But man, there is no other place that we can start this live postcast show than by talking about Caleb Wilson and Henry Versar and what they continue to do game after game after game. Carolina has played 14 games this season. In exactly half of those games, not just Henry, not just Caleb, in half of those games, including tonight, both players have secured double-doubles. It seemed like it was not going to happen tonight because Henry had exactly 0 points at halftime, but got 12 in the second half to come with it. So Carolina's front court duo has 7 games in which they both have double-doubles. The most of any other pair of teammates in the nation is 3 such games. That is, again, everything I'm about to say, do not take these dudes for granted. What they are bringing to the table game after game after game is wild. And once again, especially when you remember what was not happening in the front court from a production standpoint last year. Caleb for this game, 22 points, career high 16 rebounds, career tying high 6 assists to go with just 2 turnovers as well. That stat, I think they said on the broadcast, this was just the 6th time a Tar Heel had like 20, 15, and 5 in a game or something. I mean, that's ridiculous. 6th straight game with 20 points or more. That is now a Carolina record, breaking the tie he had with Phil Ford, who was there obviously at the game. They showed him quite a bit. In Caleb's 14 career Carolina games, he has 10 double-doubles. 6 of those are of the 20-point, 10-rebound variety. What on earth is this dude doing? He is crazy. Again, Henry Versar, 0 points in the first half. He finishes with 12 and 12. I love how these guys do it. 28 combined rebounds in this thing. 34 combined points. 11 of those 28 rebounds are offensive rebounds. Caleb much better at the free throw line tonight. 4 of 5 there. 0 of 1 from the three-point line. He kind of had to take a necessary late shot clock situation. Caleb also had 2 blocks. And man, it was not just the numbers. It was the leading the break. It was getting the assists ahead over the top. I loved that on back-to-back possessions, Henry and Caleb had dunks, and an assist on both of them came from the other. Like, it's so much fun to watch these guys operate. And speaking of those dunks, 5 dunks each for Caleb and Henry tonight. For Caleb, I don't care what the broadcasts tell you, it is 47 dunks on the season. There are a couple that were left out that were classified as layups. They were dunks. I promise you, you know how diligent I am with making sure on these things. 47 dunks this season for Caleb Wilson. Per Adrian Atkinson, these guys each having 5 in this game for 10 total dunks. How about this? Adrian says, quote, "This is the first time in UNC history that a pair of teammates have each had 5 dunks in the same game. Only 2 other times have a pair of teammates even had 4 dunks in the same game." You ready for these names? Jerry Stackhouse and Rasheed Wallace versus Texas in 1995. They both had 4 in a game. It's happened one other time in Carolina history. You know what that game was? Caleb Wilson and Henry Vasar against Kansas in this season. Again, do not take what these guys are doing for granted. Game in, game out in a multitude of different ways. It's crazy to watch. It's crazy to see it happen, and it's incredible. Okay. What I love that North Carolina did, you expect something of a sleepy, rusty start to this game. I even said it on today's show. Look, Carolina needs to come out and go and be ready and make it happen out of the gate. However, I expect something of a sleepy, rusty start, and it was. Carolina started the game 1 of 12, made 4 of their next 6, but because their defense is so good, they were able to keep able to keep FSU at bay in that stretch. And through the course of the first half, they were able to push it out to as many as a 12-point lead. FSU hits 3 threes down the stretch of the first half to cut the halftime lead down to 6. Not as desirable. In fact, in the second half, there's a little bit of back and forth out of the gate. FSU cuts it to as low as 1. The score is 44-43. Carolina responds with a 7-0 run, but then it goes out to an extended 18-3 run. So the Tar Heels take it from right after FSU cuts it to 44-43. Carolina pushes it back out to 62-46. And if my notes and my tracking of the game are correct, FSU cut it back to 10, but never again did it go below double digits once Carolina pushed it out to that lead at 62-46. Let's see. Let's double check this. Just make sure I'm not crazy and I'm not leading you astray. Yes, Carolina never again allowed the margin of lead to get into single digits. That's what you got to do. Yes, I know FSU has not been a strong team, but they've not really played a ton of strong teams. And so what Carolina was able to do to that is what you need to see essentially game in and game out from the Tar Heels, and they delivered in that way yet again. So it is that decisive run that included 4 dunks, 2 each for Vasar and Wilson, that really, really made it happen. And it's all, again, because of the North Carolina defense. Yes, the offense found their way at times, but Florida State comes into this game averaging 85 points a game. Carolina holding their opponents to 63.5 points coming in. So something's got to give there. That's basically a 21.5 point margin if we're being specific. So what I'm always looking for when you've got those statistical discrepancies, which team can pull the tug of war more in their favor? Will it get closer to 80 to 85, or could Carolina hold FSU more to like in that 70 to mid to high 60s range? And clearly, as you sit here looking at or hearing the 66 points that FSU have, you know that Carolina was the team that was able to pull that point total back in their direction. And honestly, it would have been right on the season average. 63, FSU just hits a junks 3 at the end of the game, and that gets them to 66. But again, Carolina holds a team averaging 85, 19 points under that to 66. So now it's 14 straight games to start the season in which the Tar Heels have held their opponents under 75 points. Again, if you're going to consistently do that, all you got to do is get to 76. Carolina gets to 79 tonight, and more often than not this season, that is going to be good enough. Really, really well done there by the Tar Heels. Okay, we got to talk about Seth Trimble because, man, he brings some dynamic things back to the table that Carolina just simply did not have with him out. But good grief, this guy's got to take care of his body. He's out there like Evel Knievel. It's reckless. It's crazy. I need to see a healthy Seth Trimble. We'll talk about him and Carolina's woeful three-point shooting coming up here in just a second. Right after I tell you about our good friends at Game Time. Y'all, there's nothing like college football season. We get the CFP game starting back up tomorrow. We'll have Miami, Ohio State tomorrow night, New Year's Eve, and the other 3 games on New Year's Day. Boom, 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 right in a row. It's going to be great. Man, the energy, the bands, the moments you remember forever. But actually getting tickets to those, that used to be so difficult. That was the frustrating thing, these long lines. Trying to remember your login, the price is jumping up on you at checkout, and that's where Game Time comes in, man. They're giving the competitive advantage back to fans. It's the easiest way to unlock amazing college basketball and football tickets in just a few taps. We had great tickets opportunities for Carolina FSU tonight. Just $52 to get in the door for the first ACC game of the season. Man, that's incredible. Maybe you live in the Dallas area. Check out tickets for Carolina at SMU next week, or when Carolina, or on Saturday, or when Carolina comes back to the Dome next week. The Game Time app is so incredibly easy to use. You go from browsing to buying in just a few minutes. They've got zone deals. I love this. You pick the section you want to sit in. Game Time then picks the specific seat for you, and you save even more that way. So take the guesswork out of buying college basketball and football tickets with Game Time. Download the app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. All right, let's get back into this, get into the nitty gritty a little bit more here. You guys, it is so great to have Seth Trimble back. Let's talk about that in a multitude of ways. Before this game tonight, are you ready for this? Carolina, how many times was this? Let me give you the very specific numbers. Prior to tonight's game, there were 12 times a Tar Heel had scored 20 or more points this season. Tonight was the first time somebody scored 20 and was not named Caleb Wilson or Henry Vasar. Again, when we think about everything that Seth brings to the table, I think everybody goes first to the defense. But my goodness, Henry and Caleb need a consistent third scorer. We've talked about this a lot, and it needs to be able to be Seth. Now, we've also talked about how Luka can be that fourth guy. It wasn't tonight. We need to talk more about that. We probably won't tonight unless it's in your questions, but we definitely will on the Wednesday show. So be ready for that. So Seth Trimble bringing offensive firepower to the table. And one of the main ways he does that is through transition. Carolina had struggled. We detailed this leading into Seth coming back and just after his return. Carolina struggled with fast break points. They struggled to get out in transition without Seth, but you saw him up and down the floor all night long tonight. Consequently, Carolina gets 20 fast break points to Florida State's 4. I can even give you the updated numbers from that. 20 out of Carolina's 79 points. Yeah, that's literally a quarter of Carolina's points tonight, just north of, came from transition, from fast break. And the 20 points they scored was the second most fast break points this season. The only other one that was more was Central Arkansas, 26 to start the season. So again, Seth bringing so much dynamism to what Carolina does on defense, but also on offense. Man, the block he had in the first half, that was big time. He had a strip of Robert McCray, early second half as Carolina's trying to hold McCray at bay. He's their leading scorer. He leads FSU and the ACC in assists. How did he end up? 11 points on just 5 of 13 shooting, 1 of 5 from 3. Yes, sir. We will live with that. McCray did get 6 boards, 8 assists, so on triple-double watch a little bit there. And 8 assists, yeah, that's right on his average. But you know what Carolina forced him into? 7 turnovers. And that's what we're talking about. I can live with you getting those 8 assists. But basically you had a 1-to-1 assist to turnover ratio, while the Tar Heels, on the other hand, 18 assists to 8 turnovers. See what we're talking about? Carolina, again, doing the job that they need to do, and Seth Trimble doing so much of it. Now, here's the thing with Seth. This dude scared me so much tonight. They were obviously talking about it on the broadcast, but he winds up on the floor or in the seats, and you love his aggression. Absolutely, because it sets the tone and the other guys follow suit. But my goodness, the dude is coming off a broken left arm, and you saw him like with his other arm. his right arm. He had to get it taped up because it was bleeding. He's shaking it, messing with it. I'm hoping it's okay, but it seemed like it got banged up at one point, all of that. But man, what Seth does, getting to the free throw line, where he was 8 of 11 in this game. Carolina takes 20 total free throws, and he shot 11 of them, 8 of 11. The rest of the Tar Heels, just 6 of 9 from three. You can live with that. Really good stuff there. But man, Seth also, by the way, 7 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 turnover, and 4 steals from Seth Trimble. So again, the both floor and ceiling that he brings to Carolina is incredible stuff. One of the things we talked about coming into this game is that because of Luke Loucks, Florida State is running a very NBA type offensive system where he's been an assistant for multiple NBA teams before coming back to Tallahassee, his alma mater. And so what Florida State is doing is attempting average of 36 threes a game to an average of 31 twos per game. In this game tonight at Carolina, they take 43. So over, they're already high. See, they averaged the second most three-point attempts in the nation, and they went for over that in this game. And so, yes, it felt like FSU was hitting everything, but because they're not a good three-point shooting team, there was eventual regression to the mean. So, yes, they hit 12, and that's a big deal. That's over half of their 66 points. That's 36. But they needed 40 shots to get there. Again, the same kind of thing we said with Robert McRae. You can live with that inefficiency. So 12 threes made, but they only shot 30% from three. And meanwhile, they took 40 threes to just 26 twos, but they made 11 of those. So Carolina holding them under 50%. You can live with that. You can absolutely live with that. Carolina, for the game, FSU shot 34.8%. The Tar Heels just continuing to hold teams to a ridiculously low shooting percentage on the season. In fact, let me remind us what it was coming in to the game. Carolina's opponents for the season. Actually, I can give you an updated number from Ken Palm. I don't even know why I'm trying to figure that out. The updated number, Carolina's opponents. I can't give you the updated number. I'm sorry. I apologize. Carolina's opponents for the season from the field are shooting 36.2%. Carolina is 5th in the nation in that regard, and FSU was below that tonight. Again, 34.8%. So they're just going to continue to do it. We've been talking about how good they are holding teams on twos, and that's great. But Carolina, as we think about three-point shooting, man, Kyan Evans, great stuff. 5 of 12 from 3. Keep shooting them, dude. Get up to that point. The problem, only one other Tar Heel made any threes, and that was Jonathan Powell, who was 2 of 6. So the rest of Carolina was 0 of 11 from beyond the arc. Carolina as a team, 7 of 29 from 3, 24%. It's bad. It's so bad. You got to start making them. Henry, who's one of the best three-point shooters, wasn't able to get any off tonight. It seemed like Florida State was like they were running out. I love their multiple defenses trying to mix up Carolina, and it was great, but Carolina still got 79 points, and we can absolutely live with that. So, man, it just continues to be an issue. Carolina's three-point shooting, sometimes it'll go really well, but more often than not, it is not, and that's an issue. We will see how that continues to develop. One of the things we talked about in our Four Corners preview for this game is how up-tempo FSU wants to play and how frantic they cause teams to turn the ball over. Coming into the game, FSU is forcing teams to turn the ball over 17.5 times a game. That's 8th best nationally and getting 9.8 steals per game. Carolina, just 8 turnovers in this game. Who did they come from? 3 from Henry, 2 from Caleb, and then 1 each from Kyan Evans, Seth Trimble, and Luka Bogovac. You can live with those. But Carolina, again, 17.5 turnovers forced a game by Florida State. Carolina has 8. That's now the 6th time in the last 8 games, if I'm remembering correctly, that Carolina only commits single-digit turnovers. That's what you're looking at. Florida State, how many steals did they get? 5. So Carolina holds them basically to half of that season average as well. Carolina continuing to do a great job taking care of the basketball. And when you can hang on to that and not give free possessions to the other team, that's what you want to see. A couple other stats, then we'll get out to a break, and then all your questions and conversations as well. The other thing is that not only did Carolina continue to not turn the ball over a ton, but they continued to assist a ton and at a high percentage. 29 made field goals in this game, 18 assists on those, 62%. There we go yet again. 5 Tar Heels had multiple assists in this game, led by Caleb Wilson's 6 assists with 2 turnovers. Derek Dixon, 4 assists, 0 turnovers. Great stuff there for the. I think 3 of those assists were dunks, by the way. I'm trying to think of what the 4. I can remember specifically 3 of them, including Caleb Wilson's. Like there was that play where FSU kind of bamboozled Derek Dixon out top. They were all over him. Maybe a foul should have been called, but he breaks away, gets down the lane. Oh, and here comes Caleb Wilson sprinting in from the wing. Cockback. It wasn't really a windmill, but just a vicious cockback dunk from way out. Great stuff there. Last thing we want to talk about before the break, free throws. We've been talking about how much better these have to get. First half was fantastic. Carolina goes 10 of 12 in the first half. Great stuff. The problem, the Tar Heels just shoot 4 of 8, 50% in the second half. They go 14 of 20 for the game, which is 70%. That's better than their season average, but still not good enough. I want to see the Tar Heels get closer to 75% on average and per game. That's what you got to do. And so you just simply got to make them. They did in the first half. They didn't in the second half. Okay, you guys, lots of comments and observations going on. I want to go see and hear what you have to say, and we'll get to all that to wrap the show coming up in just a second. Right after I tell you about FanDuel. Fridays already feel different during basketball season, and FanDuel is going to make them even better. Every Friday night before NBA games tip off, they got a new way to kick off the weekend called NBA Happy Hour. It's going to be 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern time every Friday night. It's your official pregame, a limited time window where FanDuel is going to drop special offers like boosts, bonuses, all sorts of surprises before all that gets going. You can check it, you can tweak it, do whatever you need to before tip-off comes. The timing is perfect right before the games. It's going to add extra energy to your Friday night basketball without overthinking it. Carolina was favored at FanDuel by 14.5 coming into this game. Unfortunately, they win by just 13. So that late 3 from Florida State, apparently I mentioned that got Florida State up above the season average that Carolina is holding their opponents to, but that was a shot that meant something to some certain people. That is maybe you. And if so, I apologize. That's a bad beat. So before tip off, check the FanDuel app and see what's dropping during NBA Happy Hour again every Friday from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern. A little basketball, a little action, a whole lot of Friday energy. That's the NBA Happy Hour only on FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, you guys, let's check out what you got to say. Boy, I don't think I realized. I heard on the broadcast, you heard a lot of reaction to that 3-pointer by FSU, and I just thought it was like, whatever. Now I realize why. Yikes. There is a lot of Luka Bogovats conversation here. Let's start there. Joseph Alexander says, not sure Bogovats continues to start after this first half. That must have been, that was at 6:59 p.m. my time, which was basically halftime. Night Say Knee says, Luka has been a disappointment so far. He forces too many shots for my liking. For example, that kind of whirling dervish under the rim. A couple other things. I believe Luka was 0 of 5 in this game. He was 0 of 5 from the field, 0 of 2 from 3. 1 rebound, 1 no, I'm looking at the wrong. I was like 4 assists. No, that's Derek Dixon, and 1 turnover in 13 minutes. That's it. That's all Luka played in this game, is 13 minutes. He's got to find consistency. He's got to be able to knock down those threes, man. What's going to happen? I'm very curious to see it. And there's an argument to be made. I still, hear me say this, would not bring Jaren Stevenson back to the starting lineup because of what that allows you to do in the front court. You look at this box score, you don't see James Brown, you don't see Zayden High. And so if Hubert Davis is going to make a switch, I would imagine it would be Jonathan Powell. I don't know if he will. I don't expect him to, because that's not his MO. I think he will continue to ride with Luka. But here's what I'll tell you from this game. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Tar Heels played 20 or more minutes. And Jonathan Powell was one of them. Derek Dixon was one of them. Luka Bogovac was not. The leading minutes man was Caleb Wilson at 36, Seth Trimble at 35. That's going to be consistent throughout the year. Henry Vasar at 29. And then Jonathan Powell, fourth most minutes played at 25. Kyan Evans, 23. And Derek Dixon at 20. So there's kind of that 6. And then I think with Luka, it's just going to be dependent on how he's playing game in and game out. So that's going to be something to definitely keep an eye on with it. Joseph Alexander also says, slam of the year candidate right there, Caleb. I mean, it's got to be. That was so high fly, especially after that one that was kind of rejected, or he was fouled where he took off from even further back. I don't think he could have gotten that one, but man, I don't know. Crazy, crazy stuff with that. And I said it, but this is really well said here by Night Say Knee. We really need to enjoy this pair of Wilson and Vasar. Haven't seen anything like this in a long time. A lot of things about Seth's elbow. I'm watching that as well. Joel Rubenstein. I apologize, Joel. I don't know if it's Steen or Stein. Joel R. says UNC looked out of sync in half-court offense. Good thing the fast break was working. Wilson and Trimble gave lots of energy. Joel, this is a great observation by you, my man. Particularly early in the game with Florida State's switching defenses, it left Carolina struggling. You saw consequently a lot of too many threes taken period. But early in the game, Carolina was settling because they couldn't find their way into the offense. Yes, part of that is the layoff of 8 days. Part of it is the rust of coming back from Christmas. But still, this is an ACC game, and you can't afford that. Against a Duke or a Louisville, you might get run out the gym if you start like that. And so they eventually started to find their way with some of that half-court offense. But to Joel's point, Carolina was at their best when they were able to get out and go and run. And then when they were able to get some momentum off of that and offensive rebounding. What I'm also curious, I haven't looked at second chance points for both teams. Tied at 15. Carolina led offensive rebounds 16-12, led defensive rebounds 31-25, 47-37 overall. But again, the second chance points tied at 15. But that was a nice avenue for Carolina. But yes, Joel. And what's funny is, we were just talking about Derek Dixon, 4 assists, 0 turnovers. Carolina often operated more capably in half-court offense when he was able to do that. Now, that said, despite the fact that Carolina looked disjointed at times in half-court offense, they were not turning the ball over, and that is critically important. And so we will certainly take that. Some interesting conversation, like Debbie Barker says here, and this is not to just whatever with Debbie, but she says it seems like they hit more. No, she must have said, oh, yes. Debbie says, if we could shoot threes like FSU just did, what a dream team we would have. And that's kind of to our point from earlier. It felt like they were hitting everything under the sun. They made 12 of them, but they missed 28. And so that's something I can live with that sort of thing. Here's a great point from JTill1290. Caleb is surely closing the gap on Boozer. Not only, he says, for National Player of the Year, and I'll add, obviously, ACC Player of the Year as well. And that's going to be a thing. I think what we can confidently say right now is that if we were deciding first-team All-Americans right now, you would be very hard-pressed to keep Caleb Wilson off that list. Cam Boozer, Caleb, Yaxel Lindeborg at Michigan. AJ DeBanza is probably going to be on that list. I don't think Darren's played enough, but I mean, he's got to be right there. And so, man, there is that. Debbie also says, and this is a great point, can't come out sleepy on the trip to Texas and Cali. Yeah, that's right. And that starts Saturday. Carolina's going to be in Dallas on Saturday, and that will be something that we need to keep our eyes on. Because if Carolina starts sleepy on the road, they'll get got. Yes, even against, like, SMU has great offense and they can do it. So this is a thing to keep your eyes on if they can do it in that way. And so we'll keep our eyes there. Jeffrey Pauly says, thanks, Isaac, for waiting after IC. I had no idea that I did that, but you're welcome. Maybe I'll pay attention to do it, and it can be like Jimmy Fallon into Seth Meyers for late night show. The I see into Locked On, and we'll get it that way. Derek Tyson, our guy, says Brandon Wright had approximately 65 dunks as a freshman, which is the record. What will Caleb end up with? LOL. Drew, I drove through Nashville, Tennessee today, where Brandon Wright's from. I didn't see him, but the Titans are building a massive new stadium. Holy cow, that thing is massive. I mean, Caleb right now, what did I say? He's at 47. I mean, y'all, that's crazy stuff there. There's still 17 ACC games left plus postseason. He's only played 14 and he's at 47. He legit, holy smokes, Caleb Wilson could get to 100 dunks this season. That is a legitimate possibility for this college basketball season that we're going to have to keep our eyes on. Derek also says the narrative before the season was that Caleb took plays off. I think it's safe to say that was way off. Yes, it absolutely was. I never understood that narrative for Caleb. It just doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. So, you guys, there will be more to get to. Great show, great win to start ACC play. Yes, a little bit sleepy, but you got to start somewhere. And Caleb and the Tar Heels able to push that out to 16. FSU just kept clinging, but it still, again, never went down into single digits after that. Really fun stuff there. So here's where we're going from here. Tomorrow morning, Wednesday morning, I'm going to do the Wednesday show live. I'm planning to do that probably at 9 a.m. Eastern time is when we'll look to do that. Then later on Wednesday, I'm going to record with Coach Rob for the New Year's Day show. And then Friday's show will be an SMU preview. So a lot of fun here. I know you've got holiday plans and you're doing all this stuff, but while you're hanging out, man, a great opportunity to tap into the show, watch it, and keep tabs on it. We'd love to see you in there for any of that stuff. I know there's a lot of other great questions and comments. I'll check in on those as I wrap up and do other things as well. And so that way, if there's some of that we need to get to on the Wednesday show, we can do that. I hope you all had a great Christmas. I hope you're gearing up for a great New Year's Eve. I'd love to hear what you're doing for New Year's Eve. Come hang out with us in the Locked On Tar Heels Discord and let us know there. That link is in the show notes, as is the link for our brand new Everydayers Club. You can let me know individually there how it's going. You guys, been a crazy long day for me. I'm exhausted, and now I'm going to go eat some supper. So I'm ready to get out of here. But man, I've had a blast hanging out with you all as always. So you guys, it's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. Cannot wait to talk to you again on Wednesday morning. But until then, peace.